Chapter 2: The Initial Cooldown. As the Pleistocene progressed, the first signs of climate change began to appear more evident. The vast plains that were once covered with tall grass and bushes began to undergo a gradual transformation. The temperature dropped, and the landscape became more arid. The nights became colder, and the days less warm. The plants and animals, which had flourished in this warm environment, now had to adapt or perish. In the northern regions, glaciers began to slowly advance from the mountains, like enormous rivers of ice that covered everything in their path. Expanses of land that had once been fertile were becoming barren and covered in ice. Lakes were freezing, and forests that had been home to a great diversity of tree species were now reduced to a landscape dominated by cold-hardy conifers. The changes profoundly affected animal life. Mammoths and other Pleistocene herbivores had to find new food sources as vegetation changed. Predators, such as saber-toothed tigers, had to adapt their hunting strategies to pursue their prey in an ever-changing environment. Competition for resources was becoming increasingly intense. Despite the challenges, some species began to develop notable adaptations. Woolly mammoths, covered in thick fur and with curved tusks, evolved to withstand extreme cold. The bison priscus, also commonly called steppe bison, a species now extinct, which inhabited much of Europe, Central Asia, Russia, Manchuria, and North America, developed thicker and more robust coats, which allowed them to survive in the harsh conditions of the Pleistocene. Rivers and lakes that had been home to fish and reptiles were now freezing over, creating a hostile environment for these creatures. However, some fish, such as the cave loachfish of the Barbatula genus, adapted to living in cold, dark waters. Meanwhile, turtles that had once swam in fresh waters now had to hibernate in the mud of river beds to survive the harsh winters. Climate change was also having an impact on marine ecosystems. As temperatures dropped, sea levels dropped, exposing new areas of land. Marine animals, such as seals and walruses, had to find new areas to rest and reproduce on dry land. The first signs of the Pleistocene marked a time of adaptation and change for life on Earth. Landscapes were transforming, and creatures that had thrived in a warmer world now had to find ways to survive in an ever-evolving environment. The Pleistocene was in full swing, and life was facing challenges never before experienced in the history of our planet. As the seasons progressed, plants developed new survival strategies. The trees shed their leaves and stood bare, conserving energy for the next growing season. Shrubs and grasses, on the other hand, learned to resist harsh frosts, adapting to an environment where life became increasingly demanding. In the northernmost regions, coniferous forests became a bastion of green amidst the snow, providing shelter and food to herbivores that had adapted to these extreme conditions. The freezing nights were full of unique sounds. The howling of wolves cut through the cold night in search of prey. Owls hooted from the dark woods, and the creaking of branches under the weight of nocturnal animals broke the winter silence. Predators, such as the cave lion and the saber-toothed tiger, became more cunning in their search for food, stalking their prey in the darkness. In mountainous regions, glaciers advanced relentlessly, carving valleys and leaving behind huge moraines of stone and sediment. The snow-capped mountains glistened in the winter sun, and the streams and rivers turned into bodies of frozen water. As the ice advanced, so did prehistoric humans, who had to find ways to adapt to the new conditions. Pleistocene climate change presented ongoing challenges to life on Earth. The creatures surviving in this evolving world were adapting to an ever-changing environment, a preview of more significant changes to come. The initial cooling epoch of the Pleistocene marked the beginning of an era of climate challenges that would continue to sculpt the Earth and its life in unexpected ways.